Good morning, one and all, and welcome into the the Florida Collegiate Summer League High School Invitational, the Classic, in the year 2026 here on Varsity Sports Nation. My name is Conrad Volch, and it is my ultimate privilege and pleasure to bring you the live stream action today and most of this week for this Classic tournament. Our first game of the tournament and of the day will feature the visiting team on the scoreboard, the St. Cloud Bulldogs, coming from St. Cloud, and the Seminole High School Seminoles, coming from right here in Sanford. St. Cloud is in the black jerseys with maroon numbers, and the Seminoles are in the white pants with orange jerseys. And that is the two teams that will be taking place today. This will be one of 4 games on the slate here at historic Sanford Memorial Stadium. This game comes from Pool D. That features Flagler Palm Coast, IMG Silver, Seminole, and St. Cloud. Coming up at 2, we'll have another Pool D game, IMG Silver and Flagler Palm Coast. Then we'll have a Pool A game at 4:30, featuring Western and Apopka. And finally, at 7 o'clock tonight, we'll have Pines Charter and Lake Howell. That is out of Pool C. First pitch of the tournament is low and inside for ball 1. Batting first here for the Bulldogs is the shortstop, number 1, Nathan Bianco. And he'll take that second pitch for ball 2. Starting on the mound today for the Seminoles is Landon Purnell, right-hander, number 10, as he drops that one in for a strike. Wind blowing mostly towards that left field area. We'll see how that affects the games today. It's a little bit cloudy. According to the weather report, not supposed to rain today, but in the state of Florida, take it with a grain of salt, as that is swung on and fouled for for strike 2. So first batter of the game, first full count of the game. Here comes the pitch. That is caught in between first and second base. Looked like it might have had a chance of hitting the dirt first, but not before. Xavier Ibar, the second baseman, had something to say about that. So that'll bring up the second batter, the designated hitter, number 6, Landon Rowe, for the Bulldogs. And that was a perfectly thrown pitch. As perfect as it can be down the center for strike 1. And this is absolutely yacked into right field, but it is caught. I'm not going to lie, the way this press box is set up here at historic Sanford Memorial Stadium, it looked like it had enough arc to clear the fence. But the outfield says this is routine. We're going to make this out number 2. So that brings up the catcher, Samuel Quijada, number 15, here for the Bulldogs. Dogs trying to find their first hit of this tournament, as that is hit up the middle. So just as I said, looking for first hit, it took one pitch to Mr. Quijada. And we got our first courtesy runner, because in high school there is courtesy runners for catchers.
At the plate now, the first baseman, Jose Alvarado.
So Nicholas Acevedo will step on first base. As Jose Alvarado will bat. Check over to first. Runner safe. I'm not going to lie, when I heard Jose Alvarado, I thought of that guy that made a name for himself picking off inbound passes when he was with the New Orleans Pelicans. So not the same guy, of course, here in this tournament. First pitch, I believe, was inside for ball one, I believe. And that will be hit up into deep left, and that's out number 3. So 4 batters faced, 3 outs here for Landon Purnell and the Seminoles. And we'll see what kind of bats that the Bulldogs are going to have to fend off when we return here on Varsity Sports Nation. The Classic Tournament here for the Florida League High School Invitational. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the FCSL High School Invitational Classic Tournament here on Varsity Sports Nation. Once again, my name is Conrad Volch. Game 1 of 4 today here on the first day of the tournament, featuring St. Cloud and Seminole High School. Well, St. Cloud had their chance in the top of the inning. Had 1 hit, no runs. Seminole will get their chance here in the bottom of the first. And this will be hit high. Will it drop? Yes, it will. That will be a single for Matt Stubbs, the center fielder. Looked like the Bulldogs had a chance to potentially play that. But sometimes you just try to judge it as best you can, but it just sailed over the outstretched arm of the second baseman. So that took 2 pitches for the Seminoles to get their first hit. And we looks like we're going to have a steal. So Seminole trying to get things started early and often here. And just for context, the Seminole team comes in here 2-9 on the season. Their last win came back on February 24th against Oviedo. That was a 9-3 victory. On the other side, St. Cloud is undefeated. So if this Seminole squad can get a win and basically give St. Cloud their first loss of the season right here, that would be huge. Not only for the season for Seminole, but also in this tournament. 1-1, and that is, yes, it's going to be dropped by the pitcher, and no throw down to first. So now, the go-ahead run for Seminole is 90 short feet away. So 2 batters faced, 2 on base already. And this brings up the shortstop, Miles Blake. So no errors. Both of those are considered, at least that play was, as the pitcher had to make an acrobatic move anyway to try and make that attempt, which he almost did. Credit where credit's due. But that will go down as a hit on the stat sheet. As that first pitch for Blake falls in for ball one. Rafael Martinez on the mound for the Bulldogs in number 18, as that's a steal down to second. Runner safe. And the first run of the game comes home from third, Matt Stubbs, and it's 1-0 Seminole. So runners in scoring position for the Seminoles. 1-1 is the count. Martinez doing his best to keep that runner on second base. Showing bunt here and laying down the bunt. A little bit of a stumble running to first. So that'll be the first out for Seminole, but that more importantly, that gets the runner down to third. I'm wondering if, I don't know if he would have made it, but if Blake hadn't stumbled, I wonder if he would have made it to first. But either way, did what he was supposed to do, laid down the bunt perfectly, and got the run down to third. Or got the runner down to third, excuse me. This will be hit down into about right center. That's going to be caught for out number 2. Runner will come home from third, and the Seminoles lead 2-0.
At the plate now, the catcher, number 3, J-Rel Rivera.
So that'll bring up J-Rel Rivera, the catcher for the Seminoles. In 2 outs, nobody on, but more importantly, the Seminoles have been able to get 2 runners home here in this first inning. Inside for ball one. That'll be sent high up into the air. And falling down but making the catch is the catcher, Samuel Quijada, and that is how the inning will end. Well, it took almost no time for us to see some runs here in this inning. Seminole with the hot bats and taking advantage of a couple Bulldog mistakes. We'll see how St. Cloud responds on the top of the second when we return here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Nation. Top of the second here between the St. Cloud Bulldogs and the Seminole Seminoles here in Sanford, Florida. Seminole got things going in the bottom of the first with 2 hits, 2 runs scored. St. Cloud got the first hit of the game, but have yet to bring anybody home, as that is seen high for ball 1. That is low and outside for ball 2. Aiden Lewis batting for the Bulldogs currently. And he starts off this top of the second. 3 balls, no strikes. See if he walks down to first or if this is a strike, and that will be in the dirt and gets away from the catcher, but luckily no one was on base, so not too much of a dire situation. That'll go down as a walk.
At the plate now, the left fielder, Santana.
So batting left, first one we've seen today. Gennaro Santana for St. Cloud with a runner on first. And I think he was hit by pitch. Yes, he was. So unlike the first inning, in which they only had 4 batters went up, 3 were retired, St. Cloud has had 2 batters up, 2 have reached base, and neither one of them have hit. One got hit, but neither one has hit the ball yet. So that'll prompt head coach Danny Light to come out of the bullpen, come out of the dugout to talk to his pitcher. One of the cool things about this tournament is getting to showcase all these players that are college commits, and what have you. Matt Stubbs for Seminole is committed to Warner University, as well as Gavin Matala is going to Norwich. And we'll be highlighting everybody that's going every which direction. But for St. Cloud, Jack Ewalt's going to the University of Arkansas Rich Mountain, and Nathan Bianco going to Oglethorpe University. So 2 players from each squad is committed to play in college. Always encouraging to see that. So runners on first and second. Nobody out here for St. Cloud. As Purnell checks the runner at second. High and inside for ball 1. And St. Cloud comes into this game undefeated, 12-0 this season. Seminole is 2-9. Both these teams are in the same league and district, 7A District 9, as that is fouled off for strike 1. Again, wind is, we'll see how much of a factor it plays today on this Monday. But for vantage point there, the big American flag in center field has been mostly blowing to either left center or straight at center, as that is fouled off. So LC Alcaraz with a 1-2 count here in the top of the second. And inside for ball 2. Alcaraz didn't even move. Looked like he was ready to take the hit should the ball hit him. The 2-2. Low and inside. Ball 3. So full count. Runners on first and second. First runner to hit scoring position for St. Cloud here in the second inning. And wind is in the batter's favor, at least in the early stages of this game. That'll go through past the third baseman. They'll chuck it back to him. So good defense there by Seminole to prevent anybody from getting home. However, the bases are loaded as we head to the bottom of towards the bottom of the lineup. Gage Rutledge will step to the plate. That is just outside. Ball 1. The catcher tried to frame it there, but the ump said ball. That time, down the middle for strike 1. It's one of the big things about pitcher and catcher is not only getting the ball in the strike zone, but having a catcher that can help frame some pitches and maybe get you some little extra help with the umpire standing behind him. As that is in for ball 2. 2 balls, 1 strike. And that is hit up high into the air. Be right on the line. Oh no, it was in fair territory, so that was a huge move there to catch that. That was caught there by Miles Blake, the shortstop. He had to dance his way over right by the foul line. And that'll be out number 1. So bases loaded here for St. Cloud. Trying to cash in on some runs to cut it close, as we'll have a approach here by the catcher of Seminole. J-Rel Rivera going up to talk to Landon Purnell. Purnell comes into this game. This is his 6th appearance this year. 1-3 as a starter. That is hit up high into shallow right. Caught for out number 2. And it keeps all the runners at first, second, and third. So after this inning, or at least this top of the inning, started dangerous, Seminole on the brink of getting out of this unscathed. But of course, have to face the top of the order, Nathan Bianco. Down the middle, strike 1. It's inside, but they call it ball 1. And you always notice with every umping crew, every strike zone's different, every style's different. So that's going to be the thing that these teams are going to have to figure out in this game is, what are we working with? As that was swung on and missed for strike 2. And as I mentioned earlier, Nathan Bianco committed to Oglethorpe University, one of 2 Bulldogs, headed to college, but he sends that one into shallow right center for out number 3. So the Bulldogs load the bases. Doesn't matter. Seminole says, yeah, if at first you try to succeed, try again next inning, or however the correct saying goes. Anyway, we will head to the bottom of the second, and due up for Seminole will be Caleb Cummings, Garrett Escalise, and Hiram Runner. We'll be right back here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Nation here in the bottom of the second, here between the Seminoles and the St. Cloud Bulldogs. If you're just joining us, the Bulldogs had the bases loaded last inning. Could not get anybody home. Their first 3 batters, a walk, a hit by pitch, and a single. And then after that, out, and another out. So the age-old saying, it's not about how you start, it's how you finish, reigned true for the Seminole defense there. As that gets fouled off into the parking lot. Look out below if you're a vehicle in that area. And this is the first baseman, Caleb Cummings, here in the bottom of the second. As he sees that pitch come in for strike number 2. And that'll be a strikeout swinging. And this brings in the designated hitter.
Now batting designated hitter number 25, Garrett Ascalisi.
Garrett Ascalisi. He fouls that one off. Looked like it hit towards the center of the bat. But sometimes when you think you have your pitch, you take a risk and see how it pays off. That one had a chance, but falls foul. That's the thing that has to stink every once in a while when you think you have the hit to sneak down the line and it just misses for foul. Got to load up and try again as he sees this one come in high for ball 1. On the mound, Mr. Martinez comes in. This is his 6th appearance as well this season. 2nd start. As that's going to be fielded there by the catcher and thrown down to first for out number 2. So a little different story here for Seminole here in the bottom of the second versus the bottom of the first.
The left fielder, number 12, Hiram Runner.
This brings up the left fielder, Hiram Runner. He'll take that. Swing and a miss for strike 1. That's got to be a fun name to have as a baseball player. You know, you don't even have to bat. Just be a courtesy runner or a pinch runner. It's like running at first is runner. I mean, that's just that's just a cool name. I think it's the first person I've ever seen on any sort of lineup card or roster anywhere with the last name Runner. Perfect baseball name. So his first 3 pitches he has seen has been either foul or strike. Keeps it at no balls, 2 strikes. And very different from that first inning here for Seminole. Swing and a miss, strike 3. So after giving up a couple runs in that first inning, Martinez lays it down. 2 of the 3 batters he faced struck him out, and that is how the second inning will end. St. Cloud still trying to get on the board. When we return here on Varsity Sports Nation, Rowe, Quijada, and Alvarado due up next here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Nation here in Game 1 of 4 here at Sanford Memorial Stadium for the Classic Tournament for the FCSL High School Invitational. 19th year of existence since 2008. It's crazy to think that the following year it'll be 2 full decades of this tournament existing. I remember, not to sound like an old person, because I'm not, but back in my day, I was born in the late 90s, and I remember when the 90s were like, 5 to 10 years ago, and that's now, almost 30 years ago, depending on which part of the 90s you were born in. So not to age myself there, but it's crazy how fast time flies the older you get, as that pitch is just a tad bit outside for ball 2. Landon Rowe, the designated hitter, his second at bat of the day. 0 for 1. He'll face a 2-2 here from Purnell. And he'll call for time. Get himself situated. And blasts it down the first base line for a single. Perfectly placed. I mean, if you move that ball just, I'd say, 8-10 inches to the right, that's fouled. But just absolutely missiled it down that line. And that puts a runner at first with nobody out. Samuel Quijada steps up to the plate. Before that hit just a few moments ago by Rowe, Quijada had the only hit of the game here for the Bulldogs. And is yet to see a hit. No, wait a minute. They're going to call a balk. I thought for sure that the Seminole defense had the out at first base, but the ump said no. So the first balk of either team. As that gets hit into center field, and that's caught for out number 1. like Rowe was going to try to sneak down to third, but center fielder for Seminole,
At the plate now, first baseman, Jose Alvarado.
Matt Stubbs, said, "I don't think so. You're going to stay at second base, good sir." As Alvarado will step up to the plate with a runner in scoring position and one away. And that'll get past the second baseman for a hit. They throw it back to home base, and that allows the runner to get down to second. Wow. So right idea, but that moves both runners into scoring position. Third hit of the game for the Bulldogs. As time is called by the infield umpire to allow Alvarado to go give his gloves back to his coach. So a single stretched into a double. Still one away. That is outside for ball one. So Aiden Lewis, second plate appearance. Last time he was up, he reached base on a walk. As he fouls that one off for strike one. Landon Purnell trying to get himself out of another jam, had a bases loaded situation last inning. But he will not do that, as that will be a RBI single, and it's 2-1. So coming home from third is Landon Rowe, who got the party started here on the top of the third. And it's 2-1 Seminole. So that brings up number 24, Gennaro Santana. Second plate appearance of the day. Only faced one pitch thus far, one pitch thus far. Now his second pitch, nearly got two hit by pitches in the same game. But gets out of the way in time. Check over to first is not in time. Again, wind blowing mostly towards left field now. A little trickery there from Landon Purnell. Looked like he was going to toss it over to third and then whipped himself back the other way. Threw it nowhere. And Cloud planning for bunt. They throw it down to second. Runner's caught in a rundown. They throw it back to home, and he's out. So the bait and switch worked. Wow. Insane. So you saw the third baseman kind of sneak closer down to home plate. Aiden McGraw planning for the bunt. No hit was made. That is inside, ball three. For Santana. Inside again, this time strike one. And that's a huge play there for the Seminole defense, keeping this a one-run game. 4 hits in this game, 3 this inning for St. Cloud. Game like this, you got to capitalize off the other team's mistakes. Seminole did that in the first inning. And this will put another runner at first base for the Bulldogs.
Now batting the right fielder, L.C. Alcaraz.
So Santana had 2 plate appearances, still no hits. Got a hit by pitch and a walk. And this brings back up L.C. Alcaraz for his second plate appearance. Last time he was up, laid down a single. Sees that first pitch high and inside for ball 1. The wind going right back towards center field again. In that vantage point is the big, tall American flag out there in center field to kind of sort of give a semi-accurate reading on where the wind is going. And I'm no meteorologist, but the wind is blowing today. The 2-0. Swing, they said he went, and that is strike 1. Not too much question there on if he went or not, but sometimes you still try to confirm it either way. Swing and a miss, strike 2. So again, if Lynn and Purnell can get out of this inning, only giving up 1 run, that'd be a huge win for this Seminole defense. And got out of a bases-loaded, nervous thing. That gets hit right to the shortstop. Throw to second, and he's out. What a play. Good old-fashioned 6-4 out, but made it look easy even though it was not. And that is how the top of the third will end. Well, St. Cloud, they get on the board, but only 1 run, nearly had 2. But we'll see what St. Cloud can do coming up here in the bottom of the third. Due up next, Blake, McGraw, and Rivera when we return here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back into Varsity Sports Nation. I apologize. I told you the wrong people who were due up. It's Mitchell, Stubbs, and Ibar. I was looking at the wrong part of my lineup. I thought I took good notes, but I guess I need to go back to high school and learn how to take notes again. Just kidding. But nonetheless, first at bat of the day for the right fielder, L.J. Mitchell. Made a play in that second inning to get the Seminoles out of a jam. in this Seminole squad coming into this game 2-9 on the season. Just came off of a 2-game series in 3 days against Lake Mary. Swing and miss for strike 2. St. Cloud comes in 12-0 on the season. They last played against Olympia at home, taking that victory 7-2. Back on March 11th. Pitches outside for ball 2. That's going to be hit high into shallow center and caught for out number 1. Again, I mentioned the pitcher for St. Cloud.
And to play the center fielder, Matt Stubbs.
Rafael Martinez, I mentioned this is his 6th appearance, 2nd start of the year, comes in with an ERA of 171. And with the exception of that first inning, he's shown you he's lived up to his ERA. And sometimes, you know, in a tournament like this, you know, you're the first game of the day and of the week, 11 o'clock start, trying to shake some rust off. You know, last played 5 days ago. But here we are. That is outside. But again, you know, in the elements here, that's going to be the main thing, at least for this game. We'll see how the wind continues throughout the afternoon, is the wind. Very batter-friendly in the first couple innings. And just as I say that, the wind changes back, blowing to directly at center field. But we'll see how these teams handle it today. That's clipped off the bat. And routine throw over to first. Matt Stubbs had a single in his last at bat, but grounds out this inning. And this brings up the second baseman, Xavier Ibar. And him and Stubbs got the offense going in that bottom of the first, each scoring a run. As Ibar sees that come in high and inside for ball 1. That time low for ball 2. It's definitely that time of the year for baseball. Got high school today, had a thriller World Baseball Classic game last night. Major League Baseball's in spring training. Seen some crazy scores at one point. Saw one 23-6, 14. I think one was like 17-14 or 14-11. I'm like, I guess the NFL just never went to the offseason. As that gets hit over for out number 3, and that was a very quick bottom of the third. 3 batters up, 3 retired, and that is how the third inning ends. Well, St. Cloud, they registered a run last inning, trying to cut back even closer. And we'll see what the Bulldogs have for us when we return. Rutledge, Torres, and Bianco when we return here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back into Varsity Sports Nation here in the top of the fourth between Seminole and St. Cloud. My name is Conrad Volch here on the broadcast. Pleasure to be along for the ride this week. First pitch, now second pitch, evens the count. 1 ball, 1 strike. Still on the mound for Seminole is the right-handed Landon Purnell. He's facing Gage Rutledge here in the top of the fourth. Outside, ball 2. That gets hit up to the shortstop, and he'll missile it over to first. And that is out number 1. So outside of the bottom of the first and top of the third, it's been pretty, I guess, stagnant, if you will, with scoring. Again, we had that top of the second where St. Cloud loaded the bases and could not get anybody home. And then obviously the last inning where it got a little dicey, but nobody's been really able to get home today. Oh my goodness, what a circus catch down by third base. Aiden McGraw says, no, I'm putting a stop sign on this ball and I'm catching it. That was unbelievable. That was cool. I'm not going to lie. That's the difference between out number 2 and a single stretched into a double. And that'll bring us back to the top of the order. Nathan Bianco with his third at bat of the day, 0 for 2 so far. St. Cloud has 4 hits. Seminole just 2, but Seminole leads 2-1. That gets rocketed high up into the air, the whole infield calling for it. And somebody caught it. I have no idea who, but it's caught. Oh, there it is. A couple guys collided there in shallow, very shallow left. Or shallow right, excuse me. And that is how the top of the fourth will end. So 3 up and 3 down. Therefore, for St. Cloud. And we'll see what Seminole has to offer for us in the bottom of the fourth coming up next, as we'll see Blake, McGraw, and Rivera here on Varsity Sports Nation. It's Florida Collegiate Summer League High School Invitational time here in the land of Sanford, Florida. Again, live stream link can be found on FloridaLeagueTournaments.com here on Varsity Sports Nation. Unleash the champion within. And Seminole trying to add some more runs to their 2-1 lead here. As leading us off here in the bottom of the fourth is Miles Blake. Had a ground out in his last at bat. That will be hit towards the third baseman. He'll chuck it down to first, and that's out number 1. So Aiden McGraw will step to the plate. Again, had to jump up and reach out with his left arm to grab that line drive catch. You'll see that first pitch come in for strike 1. The 0-1 pitch. Swing in, a miss for strike 2. And if McGraw was able to make a connection on that, it was going to go pretty far. In batter-friendly game, at least thus far. But the bats just have not been able to find people to get home. The 0-2. Inside, ball 1. Again, as we said, this is the first of 4 games here at Sanford Memorial Stadium. IMG Silver and Flagler Palm Coast coming up at 2 p.m. As that comes in for ball 2. And that is, oh, he got him. Wow. So just danced along that line. That's the 3rd strikeout tossed here by the right-hander, Rafael Martinez. That brings up number 3 of J-Rel Rivera. That is sent high into left center, and that is pulled out of the air for out number 3. And that is how the 4th inning will come to an end. So still same score, 2-1 here in this first game of the Classic Tournament. Well, St. Cloud, they'll have another chance to try and tie things up, potentially go ahead. We'll give you all the action when we return here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back into Varsity Sports Nation. Top of the fifth here between Seminole High School and St. Cloud. Again, just for context, if you do not know, St. Cloud comes into this game 12-0 on the season. Seminole is 2-9, and Seminole leads 2-1. It's been that kind of a game as this gets absolutely shredded up into the air, and that's caught for out number one behind the plate. We've seen two outs caught by catchers today. Both of them had to adjust and fall over, but still were able to catch it. It's J-Rel Rivera back there. And wind is, I keep saying it, wind is batter friendly right now. But it's also, like I said, the catchers have had to kind of change directions midair. While the ball's in the air, I should say. But Samuel Quijada sends this into left, and it's over the head of the left fielder. And that'll be a double with one away. And again, batter-friendly wind that we got going here in Sanford. And that'll bring up the courtesy runner for the second time today, number 12, Nicholas Acevedo. So the tying run is at second. Go-ahead is at home plate. There's Jose Alvarado. Will step up with one away. And that'll get sent up high into the air. Seminole calling for it, and that'll be caught for out number two. It was Miles Blake, the shortstop. He's had a couple big catches today. Had the one down around the third baseline where the wind kept it in fair territory. This brings up Aiden Lewis. Alden Lewis, excuse me. I apologize. The L looked like an I to me. And that'll be a hit by pitch. And it looks like we got some extracurriculars, extra conversation between pitcher and batter. And still looking over towards first base is Landon Purnell, not really sure what was exchanged or what was said. But, yeah.
The left fielder, Santana.
So runners on first and second, two outs here. Santana hits this one high into shallow left center. Oh my goodness, it's dropped. One run will come home. Wow. So I'm not sure if it was, because it looked like it was almost going to be a collision in left center. But luckily the two outfielders stayed off of each other. And that's a tough play there because now it's a tie ball game. And Coach Light has seen enough here. He'll come out to talk to his pitcher. And we'll see here if he's going to change it or continue with Purnell. Again, we saw a hit by pitch earlier, and some words were exchanged between Purnell and Lewis, as Lewis was taking off his padding going down to first base. So 2-2 ball game here in this top of the fifth. So Light will continue with Purnell. Danny Light calling down to the bullpen to get some people warmed up. But this changes things here because, you know, if you're Seminole, you've been kind of getting away with getting some dangerous situations. That gets sent into center. 1 run will score. Coming home from third, and he gets there. Two runs come home, a single stretched into a double. And it's 4-2 St. Cloud. So the avalanche is falling off the mountain. Here for the offense of the Bulldogs. And Seminole had done a decent job of keeping St. Cloud at bay for most of this game. And then the fifth inning happened. And for the first time today, we'll have a pinch hitter. Hudson Gowan will bat for St. Cloud with 2 away and a runner on second. That's low and mostly in the middle, not too far inside or outside for ball 1. Low again for ball 2. Gowan, .357 batter this year. 18th plate appearance. He'll send this one through the defense of Seminole. And another run's trying to come home. Throw to the plate, not in time. So another single stretched into a double. It's 5-2 St. Cloud. And really this entire scoring frenzy here has started. We got another pinch hitter, number 21, Adrian Caradero, with 2 away. And Caradero sees that come in for ball 1. But really, since that hit by pitch, that's when it started, not like going too crazy, but that's really where it started kind of falling off here for Seminole. But sometimes you hang on for dear life as long as you can, and it just sometimes doesn't work. But nonetheless, that's why you play the game. Outside, ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike. Here for Caradero. Low and outside, ball 3. And they'll chuck it over to second. Dangerous throw there. Yeah, as I mentioned, 12-0 is St. Cloud this season. 2-9 is Seminole. And that'll be a walk, so runners on first and second. 2 outs here. And we'll return back to the top of the order. Nathan Bianco, 0 for 3, and it looks like we're going to have a pitching change. So that'll end the day for Landon Purnell. 4 2/3 innings. And his day is over. We'll update you here when the next pitcher comes out and he's trotting over towards the mound. Believe that's number 8 of Aiden Matthews. And it is. So, Mr. Matthews, this is his 7th appearance of the season. We'll step aside as he gets warmed up. 5-2 St. Cloud off of 4 runs scored so far in this top of the 5th. We'll be right back here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back into Varsity Sports Nation. Still top of the 5th here between Seminole and St. Cloud. Again, Seminole was trying to play the upset card, and it was working until this inning. But St. Cloud has found their offense, as that's going to be a hit by pitch there. I think that hit the batter maybe in the ankle area, I think. It was definitely in the lower leg area. So this will be the first time that Nathan Bianco reaches base today. 0 for 3 before that hit by pitch. Still 0 for 3 technically, but he will reach base for the first time this afternoon. As this brings Landon Rowe, the designated hitter, to the plate, and he'll get hit by a pitch, and that brings home another run. So the pinch hitter, Hudson Gowan, comes home from third. And that'll load the bases for the, well, It was loaded with the first hit by pitch, and now it stays loaded. But, yeah, not something you want to see here if you're Seminole. So 5 runs scored here in this top of the 5th. 6-2 is your score. High and inside for ball 1. Again, on the mound is Aiden Matthews for this Seminole team. 7th appearance of the year. Again, ERA doesn't tell the whole story, but comes in with a 13.65 ERA, according to MaxPreps.com. This gets hit high into right field, and that is caught for out number 3, and that will stop the bleeding initially here. But again, not before Seminole was able to register 5 runs here in the top of the 5th. Wow, I'm getting all my teams mixed up. I apologize. St. Cloud registered 5 runs. Seminole watched their lead disappear. And we'll see what they can do come bottom 5. 6-2 is your score here on Varsity Sports Nation. We'll be right back. Welcome back into Varsity Sports Nation. High school invitational baseball here in Sanford, Florida, as that pitch goes flying past the batter to start the bottom of the 5th. Leading off for the Seminoles is the first baseman, Caleb Cummings. It's 0 for 1 with the strikeout. Goes down the middle for strike 1. It's the first time these two teams have played each other since before the 2005-2006 season, according to Max Preps. That gets fouled off for strike 2. And Seminole High School was here last year for the Florida League tournaments. As that is swung on and missed for strike 3.
Designated hitter, Garrett Ascalisi.
So that'll bring up the designated hitter, Garrett Ascalisi, who's 0 for 1 on the afternoon. And Seminoles have 2 hits. Both of them came in the first inning. They led for a majority of this game until the top of the 5th. And then it just kind of all started happening, if you will, for the Bulldog offense. Again, coming up next at around 2 o'clock will be IMG Silver and Flagler Palm Coast. Just saw the IMG Silver squad enter the ballpark. They're sitting out in the stands right now, taking on the action here on this beautiful Monday. It's outside for ball 2. In the winner of last year's Classic was Pace. They defeated Timber Creek. But we will have a new winner this year as I said, we will have a new winner and two different teams, I should say, in the final, as both Timber Creek and Pace are not here this year. But that's how it is for some teams. The local squads are here almost every season, and then the teams that have to drive a little bit farther sometimes go every other year or every few years, as that'll be a walk for Ascalisi. Put a runner on first.
The plate, the right fielder. The left fielder, Hiram Runner.
So left fielder Hiram Runner will come up to the plate. And we've got a runner at first. And we'll give you an update as soon as we see the number. If I had to take a wild guess, I believe it's number 24 of Gerard Riggins. So Riggins standing on first base with one away for Seminole. And that's high for ball 1. And same pitcher all day here for St. Cloud, Rafael Martinez. And he's had 3 strikeouts this afternoon. Seminole has not registered 1, at least not yet. That's in the middle, but they call it a ball. If any of you guys tuned into the World Baseball Classic last night between Venezuela and the United States, don't get me wrong, I am super excited that the United States won, but that pitch that was thrown in to the unofficial strike zone, mind you, was few, as they say in NASCAR, a few car lengths. It was a few ball lengths under the line. But as is life sometimes. So St. Cloud having their first mound appearance conversation here in the bottom of the 5th. It's been the same pitcher the whole time here for St. Cloud. We'll see if or when that changes. 2-0. And is hit up into the air and out of play. Hit a palm tree on the way down for strike one. The 2-1. Make that 3-1. Again, it doesn't look like there's anybody warming up in the Bulldogs bullpen, at least not yet. And we'll see how long David Blackmore lets that go on. I think he wants to see his pitcher get through this inning as that gets sent into left center. Can they catch it? No, they cannot. As the ball gets away, the two runners still haven't settled in on which bases they're going to go to. Now they do. So on a 3-1 pitch, that'll be the first hit. That'll be the first hit for Seminole since the first inning. So runners on first and second, one out here. And this brings L.J. Mitchell to the plate with one away. L.J. 0 for 1 with a flyout in his lone at bat. And swung on and fouled away for strike one. The 0-1. I think that was foul tipped as well. And kind of was bang bang a little bit there. Might have even clipped the umpire. That makes it 0-2. Again, runners on first and second, one out here for Seminole. Runners will go, swung on and missed. Throw down to third is not in time, they say. It was close, but no cigar. And two away.
Now batting the center fielder, Matt Stubbs.
So that'll bring up the Warner University commit, Matt Stubbs, with both runners in scoring position, down 6-2. Swung on and missed for strike one. In the Seminole squad, looking for their first victory since February 24th against Oviedo. High and outside, nearly hit the batter for ball one. In both their wins this year, the first against Colonial and the other one against Oviedo, have been by a minimum of 5 runs. As that gets popped up into the air, down in foul territory, and that lands in front of the Seminole dugout. First base coach Carson Walden had to get out of the way there. The 1-2. And they're going to say it's a strike. The batter cannot believe it, but the loud noise from the home plate umpire says, "You're gone. See you later." So the 4th strikeout tossed here by St. Cloud's Rafael Martinez, and we have concluded the 5th inning. 6-2 is your score. St. Cloud up by 4. They'll be up next when we return here on Varsity Sports Nation. Top 6 coming up next. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Nation. Top of the 6th here between Seminole High School and St. Cloud here in the big land of Sanford, Florida. New pitcher here for the Seminoles, number 20 of Luke Lehman. His first pitch is outside, but makes it in the strike zone for strike 1. 7 full innings pitched this year. 5 strikeouts for the right-hander. The second relief pitcher we've seen for Seminole here in this game. That is hit to center. We'll see where it lands. What a catch by the center fielder. Matt Stubbs had to kind of turn his back a little bit to catch up to it because of the wind. Caught it in his left hand, and we've got 1 away.
Played center fielder Alden Lewis.
So that brings up Alden Lewis to bat for St. Cloud. Again, this St. Cloud squad was down the entire game until that last top of the inning. Part of a 5-run avalanche here for the Bulldogs. Pitch is down the middle for strike 1. And Coach Blackmore comes in. Been at the helm of this Bulldog squad for 5 years. That is hit to the second baseman, thrown over to first for out number 2. Again, this team went 17-9 last year. On the verge of starting 13-0.
Played the left fielder Inara Santana.
Overall record for Coach Blackmore, 72-49 coming into to this afternoon's game. That is high and outside for ball one. Gennaro Santana trying to add to this lead for the Bulldogs. And Bulldogs have 6 runs off 7 hits. Some of those runs in the 5th inning aided by a error. And that's another thing that allowed the Bulldogs to get it going as well. The hit by pitch, 1 of 2 actually. And that is fouled off for strike 2. And an error in the field had a couple guys running towards the ball that was going to land near center field, and one of them dropped it. But that is how it goes sometimes. And that's a strikeout. So first one of the day for Seminole comes from Luke Lehman. And that is how the top of the 6th will end. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. Seminole down by 4, trying to stage a comeback here. We'll be right back here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Nation here in Sanford, Florida at historic Sanford Memorial Stadium. Very bat-friendly inning as the wind is directly facing center field. As leading us off is Xavier Ibar. It gets hit into shallow center, and that is out number 1. So entering this inning, the right-hander Rafael Martinez had 71 pitches. Again, no relievers have come in. Again, my theory is unless something wild happens in this 6th inning, I have a theory Coach Blackmore will probably leave him out there, depending on how many pitches he throws this inning. And his graduation year is 2028, so he's a sophomore this year. Sophomore this year. That gets hit into left field for out number 2. But again, with high school baseball, depending on your age, you're limited to a number of pitches, and days off's a little different. So again, all that stuff comes into play with stuff like this. So we'll see kind of what Coach Blackmore decides to do in the next inning. That lays in for ball one. Make that ball two here for Aiden McGraw. That gets hit right down to the third baseman, chucked over to first, and that is out number 3. Again, Martinez had that shaky first inning, if you can even call it that, but he has been hammering nails for the rest of it. We head to the top of the 7th. We'll see what these two teams bring us for the final inning of this first game. Do not go too far here on Varsity Sports Nation. 6-2 St. Cloud when we return. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Nation. Top of the 7th here between St. Cloud and Seminole. LC Alcaraz leading us off here for the Bulldogs. So on the mound for Seminole High School is Luke Lehman. Not to put it in layman's terms. Just kidding. That was awful. I'm never saying that again. Had to throw the dad joke out there at least once on this broadcast. But, we had our batter Hiram Runner. Now we've got Luke Lehman. Great names. That is hit into right center, and that'll drop for a base hit. Might get stretched into a double. They're going to try it, and he's safe. LC Alcaraz says, I've ate my Snickers. I am me, because I'm not hungry. I'm going to stretch this into a double. So we had a pinch hitter last time. That was number 45 of Hudson Gowan, but we've had a re-entering is Gage Rutledge. I mean, he already did in the last inning for defense, but in the batting order, he's back. 0 for 2 on the day with a ground out. He'll lay this one down as a bunt. And that was they're going to call him out, so that was I don't want to say an errant throw, but it was not your typical throw over to first.
Number 3, Christian Torres.
Xavier Ibar came down from second as Caleb Cummings was, I guess, more or less trying to cover home. So he was, Ibar was technically in the baselines. That pitch gets away. The runner from third makes it home, and it's 7-2 St. Cloud. Again, this scoring avalanche started in the fifth. 5 runs put them ahead, 6-2. Now it's 7-2. And that's low and outside for ball 2. As this is Christian Torres batting. Again, he was guy who came in and pinch hit last time was Adrian Caradero. And he'll take his base.
At the plate, shortstop, Nathan Bianco.
So Nathan Bianco, the Oglethorpe University commit. Will step up to the plate. Oh for 3 and got hit by a pitch in his last at bat. This is his 5th plate appearance. You'll see that outside for strike 1. St. Cloud team up 7-2. This is, if this score stands, they'll have won 2 games in a row scoring 7-2. And their last game was 5 days ago against Olympia. And the fewest runs that they scored in a win was 3, and they did it 3 times this year. Davenport, Osceola, and Harmony. Davenport and Osceola, they won 3-1, and against Harmony, they won 3-2. They've only had 1 game this season that went to extras. That was against Ocoee on March 4th. That was 8-7 in the 8th inning. That gets hammered down the line. Just missed the correct side of the baseline to make it fair. Again, coming up after this game, IMG Silver and Flagler Palm Coast. 2 teams that were in the tournament last year. Down the middle, but ball 2. And these first 2 games are both Pool D games. In Pool A and Pool D, each have 4 teams. Pool B and Pool C have 3. That's thrown to second, but it was fielded in time, but unable to make a play. So that'll go down as a stolen base. There for Alcarez. Or excuse me, not Alcarez. That is Rutledge, I believe. That's swung on and missed for strike 3. So out number 2. Second strikeout tossed by Lehman. I guess that should be his go-to, like, saying whenever he strikes out somebody, just to put it in layman's terms, you're out. I don't know. He swung on and missed there by Landon Rowe. Make it 0-1. In runner on second, 2 retired. That'll go down as no pitch as the batter called time. Again, it was a little late, but called it within the timing, so the pitch does not count. And he'll see that come in for ball one. And low and inside, ball two. That gets hit down the first base line. Easy move there by the first baseman. And that's the end of the top of the seventh. We'll go to the bottom. Another run scored here for St. Cloud. They lead by 5. And it is still going to be the Rafael Martinez show on the mound. We'll see what he dials up here in the bottom of the seventh. Seminole needs 5 to continue, 6 to win it. We'll see what the outcome is here on Varsity Sports Nation. Welcome back into Varsity Sports Nation here in Sanford, Florida. In Florida League Tournaments.com is where you can find the live stream link to share with your friends. Can't believe we're already over halfway through the third month of the year of 2026. But nonetheless, bottom of the seventh here. That is fouled off. St. Cloud outfield trying to make a play on that. Ran out of real estate. J-Rel Rivera batting here for Seminole. 0 for 2 on the afternoon. That drops in for ball one. That gets hit right to the shortstop, thrown over to first, and that's out number 1. You know, it's always an impressive thing when a pitcher can make it the entire game, no matter what level it is. It's the first time we've seen St. Cloud warming up a reliever, as they got a couple guys down there warming up. But like I said, depending on how this inning goes, which it's the last inning anyway, pending a crazy comeback, it should be the entire game pitched for Rafael Martinez. That drops in for ball 2. And that gets hit into shallow center field, and that is out number 2. So one final out left. And St. Cloud can maintain their perfect record to start this season. Again, 12-0 to start the year. Fewest runs they scored was 3 times. And if this game ends exactly what the score says, it'll be back-to-back games in which they have won 7-2 in the past week. The 0-1. That gets fouled off for strike 2. Again, this has been the only pitcher all day here for St. Cloud, Rafael Martinez. And we saw 2 relievers come in for Seminole. Nobody has come in for St. Cloud. That's in, and that's out. The 5th strikeout tossed by Mr. Martinez. And that is how Game 1 of the 2026 FCSL High School Invitational Classic Tournament game ends with a 7-2 victory for St. Cloud over Seminole. Unbelievable. I mean, this if you had told me entering the top of the 5th that it would be a 2-1 ball game, I would have told you you're crazy. Because again, records don't tell the whole story, but they kind of do at the same time. So St. Cloud moves to 13-0 on the season. Seminole falls to 2-10. Again, coming up next, IMG Silver will be taking on Flagler Palm Coast. Again, this game might start a little bit early. They need about 30 to 35 minutes to flip the field. But that is who we got coming up next. This has been Game 1 of Day 1 here for the Classic Tournament for the FCSL Florida High School Invitational. My name is Conrad Volch. We'll be right back and bring you Game 2 here in about 30 to 40 minutes, or give or take an hour. We'll see you back here. Don't go too far.